Mr. Shipman's class, Mr. Shipman's class. Mr. Shipman's class, Mr. Shipman's class. Mr. Shipman's class, Mr. Shipman's class. Mr. Shipman's class, Mr. Shipman's class.
Good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are. This is Dr. Terrence Shipman. I'm back again with Mr. Shipman's Class podcast. I am hoping everyone has had a wonderful new year. We're back with our new season, the beginning of season 2. If you need to find me, you always locate me on my website. It's www.terrenceshipman.com. You can catch me on all social media, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Google+. Now, today, we'll start this new series that I'm starting this year, the State of Education series. And I'm doing one of my favorite subjects that I used to love teaching when I taught kindergarten. That's math. I'm here joined by 4 great math teachers who are going to help educate the world on where are we in math today in 2019. Everyone, take the time to introduce yourselves.
Hello, my name is Dexter Oden. I'm a middle school teacher for math. I've taught all grades, so 6, 7, and 8.
I'm Natasha Bell. I'm currently teaching 8th grade, but I've also taught 7th.
William Schneider, 8th grade math teacher.
Georgine Douglas, 7th grade math teacher. I've taught 5th grade, 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, math, all subjects, and 1st grade, all subjects, and special ed self-contained.
Well, as you can see, we have a wealth of knowledge here. Let's jump right into this, guys. Are y'all ready to go? And ladies?
Yeah.
All right, here we go. First question. What is the state of math? Where are we when it comes to math today?
That's 51st state.
Mr. Snyder, let's start with you.
A place of improvement. We're at a place of where we want to be. We're making gains. It may not always translate into things that people see and read, but we are making gains. We've kind of transitioned our process of math away from the idea of skill repetition because there's too many sources on the internet. You just Google it, there's your answer, there you go. So we've moved math away from skill repetition more towards application and understanding a process, concept development, more of things to develop and take into the real life outside of, I can replicate 2 + 2 is 4. That doesn't really help us nowadays. We've moved away from that in math, and that causes a lot of frustration for people that's what they did in math. I just got to memorize this skill, and I'm good to go. We've switched away from that to more of how does something work, explaining how something works, and changing that to fit how people understand math and how kids are now learning math has been difficult for lots of people.
Yes, I think what he's alluding to is that productive struggle that we're trying to get our kids to understand that everything is not given to them in the first 30 seconds. They have to actually be productive and struggle through the problem and make sure they're able to work all the way to the end to get their answers. A lot of time now, we grew up in the age of the digital age where the kids can put their information into Google and spit it right out. And they want instantaneous results. And a lot of times that's not the key with math.
And it's a focus on problem solving, which is across the board, which, like you said, the productive struggle. I mean, they're learning how to stop and think and have to reason and take what knowledge they do have and then even go look up, find other information that they can look up on Google or wherever, but then try to figure out how to solve that problem. And that's across content areas.
And I think sometimes the struggle also as a teacher is working with students who don't come with those prerequisite skills that we need in order to take it to the next level, the application phase. Because when you're applying the math, you got to have a certain skill set. You got to be able to reason. You got to be able to think through problems. And definitely you got to have that good foundation in order to be successful with applying the knowledge that you do know.
Well, thank you all. That was some great first answers. I'm going to chime in, even though I don't teach math. To me, I see the state of math because I see the students struggling. I think we just need to go back to the basics. I don't feel that in the state of math today, when I look at my students and I see them struggle working problems, in my class. It's just the very basics they don't have. All right, which would lead us back to question number 2. Where do we need to go with teaching math?
Well, honestly, where we need to go from teaching math is we have to shift our whole paradigm, both as teachers and parents and students, etc., to the understanding of there's basic things that we have to understand conceptually and recognize. We can't just rely on something else to tell us that a problem is an answer. If we use the internet for an answer, it's a great tool, but it doesn't mean a thing if you don't understand that 10 plus 10 should be 20 and somehow you get 1,000 out of the calculator. You have to recognize in your head, your skill basic set, that's wrong. You need to see that. We have to build up as parents in particular. I need you to work on focusing and talking to your students that it's not a problem. Oh, I'm bad at math, so you can be bad at math. That's not a good thing. No one's bad at math. Everybody doesn't like to do math. You can do it when you try and apply yourself. You just have to run with that and not quit trying. Don't quit trying and say, oh, I'm bad at math, I don't have to be good at it. Don't quit trying.
I think, too, at this stage in middle school, a lot of our kids are asking the question, when am I ever going to use this in math? And I tend to tell them that we're teaching you how to take information, process it, and work through to get a result, which is the same thing you want to do when you become an adult. You have a problem, you want to think through it, and you want to get an end result that is in your favor. So we're basically teaching you how to think, how to process information. I know that we sometimes with the technology, we think that it's bad sometimes for us with our kids. But a lot of the technology is actually good if we use it in the right way. There are a lot of math websites and gaming sites that actually help the kids get better. They get more engaged. They don't even know that they're learning. But at the same time, they need to understand that it's a process to teach them how to think. And what Mr. Snyder said about also that a lot of parents will say to their kids that I was bad in math too. And the kids, when they hear that, it does sort of kind of give them like an out that they don't really have to do their very best. I mean, I can take you don't have to like math, but I can teach you how to respect it, learn the rules, and actually execute how to solve the problems. And that's what we're trying to do, is that you don't have to like it, love it, but you still need to understand the procedures to actually work out those problems.
In the elementary schools, I think we just need to focus on the basics. If we can get them in middle school knowing their basics, we can take them where they need to go. But a lot of times it's like we're backtracking. So I'm thinking in my mind, the way I'm processing it is work slower to work faster. So you're working slower in elementary, making sure they can add and subtract, make sure they understand it conceptually, have a great number sense, so that when they get to middle school, then yes, now we can really take off and we can start applying it even more. We can put in a Pythagorean theorem, we can put in ratios and all of that, but it becomes very difficult when we're backtracking. So in elementary, if we focus on the basics, building that great number sense, then I think in middle school, we can take them leaps and bounds.
I'm thinking ahead, like parents, and even I've done it with my own children when they were younger. When you cook with them. Pull the measuring cups out. They need to do fourth of a cup, third of a cup. Be able to see how equivalent fractions are without just seeing them as fractions, because fraction is an ugly word in most people's minds, and I love fractions, and if you get them, they're actually kind of fun. But cook with your children. When you're measuring the living room to put carpet down, let them measure the length and the width. Let them multiply it and find the area. How much paint are we going to need? Involve your children in those things. Even if you hire somebody out to do a job for you, talk to them about, okay, what's he going to know? How much are we going to pay him an hour? And let them see real world stuff. Don't just, I think so many times we do it for them. We don't let them think, oh, well, they'll figure that out later. They'll get that in time. But if they see it throughout, growing up, then it's just a normal thing. When you go to the grocery store, I mean, when I went to the store with my dad, he's like, well, it's $1.97. Well, that's $2. Okay. He would always round up, but we always rounded and we added as we went, and he would sit there and he would divide in his head to figure out the unit rate. So he'd buy the cheaper, the less expensive, brand of green beans or whatever. He would stand there and do it in his head. And to this day, I do that stuff in my head. Why? Because he sat down with me at home? No, we did it walking through the grocery store. We did it at the gas station. We did it everywhere. And it was not planned. It was just conversation that came up. So please talk to your kids and talk about everything. Involve them in everything else. Tell them to put the phone away and come work it out with you.
I agree. I'm going to tell you one of the things I loved doing when I was teaching kindergarten and second grade. I love manipulatives. I had them all over my classroom. Teaching math, especially kindergarten. Draw the number 5. Count out 5 objects. They loved it every day at center time because we love center time in kindergarten. And even when my own kids, we just set up things around the house. Count beans, count cans, count shoes. How many pairs do you have? You have to get, I agree with everyone who sat here. You have to get your kids involved early. You can't put it all on the school and say, hey, I need you to teach my kid math. No. You need to teach your kid math too. When you cut the yard, do you go across in a circle or do you keep going across? It's all in design. That's math. Math is everywhere. I think that's why I really want to start with you all. All right, now guys, we're going down to our final question. How can they become better prepared from elementary school or home? How can we? And we kind of got into that question a little bit, but this will be our last question for the day. How can they become better prepared?
Well, I think just the family involvement. Don't be afraid to ask questions when you don't know something. If you have a contractor that's coming to your house, we're putting in carpet, and they're saying, what's the area of your floor? If you don't know, ask questions. Allow the kids to hear you asking those questions. And then later on, maybe have a conversation on how that actual result actually came about. I love, just throwing numbers, with my daughter when we go to get gas. If, how much gas am I going to need approximately in my tank and how much it's going to cost if it's a certain price. I just try to get her to think. I know that's coming from a mathematician, but at the same time, even when you're in the grocery store, I love going to Sam's. And then I always ask my daughter, what's the best price? And then I've taught her now to look at the unit rate on the labels because it's actually printed. Which one am I getting a better price for? So she's learning there. It may not be seeming like it's a lot, but she's able to recognize and get the number sense of the value of $1 and then how it applies to the real world. So that's the other thing too. And I think a lot of times you need to put math and relate it to money. Kids love money. All right. So it's easy to start teaching them about money and how to add and how to save and things of that nature, then how to accumulate money more. If you start talking about it early as far as investing, interest, the sales tax, things of that nature, they will understand and they will want to know, especially if you tell them they're going to get more money for doing something. So just involve them. Don't be afraid to not know, and don't be afraid to not let them know that you don't know. And then you seek the answer. Don't just keep them hanging, though. We seek the answer.
And I agree with what has been said. Always keep a positive outlook instead of saying, oh, I wasn't good at math when I was in school. Just kind of encourage your children, you can do this. Come on, let's just keep trying. What do I need to ask the teacher? What should you ask the teacher tomorrow to make sure you have a better understanding? As well as what has already been said about involving your kids in the math. When you go to cash out and they say total, you can look to your child. What do they mean when they say total? See if your child knows that means to add. If I have a $20 bill and my bill came out to be $12, how much change am I getting back? Just involving the kids in the math, even when you are budgeting, because that's a big thing. And just kind of allowing the students or allowing your child to see, okay, these are the expenses. This is how much is coming in. This is how much is going out. This is how much we have to live off to eat with. Or this is how much we can splurge this month. Just involving them in the math, having them do the math, and keeping that positive mindset is step one. And then 2, homework. homework. I know a lot of people are kind of getting away from it, but studies show that in a secondary level, math homework is very, very important as far as reinforcing those skills. So please, parents, even if it's just 30 minutes to an hour, have a designated study area for your child to sit down and look back over those notes. And in math, the way you study math is not just reading, it's doing. You have to do the math. You have to practice it. this is the example my teacher gave me. I'm going to create my own and I'm going to work through it, look back at the example, or even redo the example problem. Cover it up. Do it. See if you get the same answer. If not, look back at the problem that was given in class and say, oh, okay, that's where I made my mistake. Do it again. You have to do math in order to learn it.
Amen.
That's true.
And that is the only way to study it. You can study vocabulary. You can, learn meanings of words and try to get that in your mind. But without practicing working the problems, you might as well just leave your book at school and not worry about it. And I think that's why our test scores, a lot of times, they just don't score. They don't score well. Why? Because they think, oh, I got it in class, I did it, but by next Thursday, they're not going to remember how to do it. And if they don't study it,
not retain.
Multiple problems, too. Multiple problems, multiple
and
different ways. Yes, different ways.
And just running with the themes everybody's said so far, I think that we need to just continually promote situations in life with our kids that lend themselves to mathematics to encourage that observation that they've had. For example, I know my 9-month-old doesn't have any idea how to add or count, but if he has 3 toys and I take one, he knows one's missing. So he knows intuitively where'd it go. He's looking for it, trying to find it. So we already have that natural ability. We got to do our best as parents and educators not to stifle that from our kids.
Correct.
Yes.
and if they can memorize songs and they can play all their video games, and if they can run a cell phone, they can do the math. Because if they can't do the math, they're not going to be able to pay for that cell phone when you quit paying for it, folks. So, better make sure they know how to do it, or they're going to be,
Practice and perseverance. Persevere. They have to persevere through the problem.
I want to thank my panel. You all did a fantastic job. Give yourself a hand. Thank you very much. And again, if you need to get in touch with me or one of my panelists, I can get the message to them. You can contact me at my website. That's www.terrenceshipman.com. You can reach me on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, or Google+. And in closing, as I say every time, I am special, I am smart, I am somebody. Thank you again, and we'll see you next time at Mr. Shipman's class.
Mr. Shipman's class, Mr. Shipman's class. Mr. Shipman's class, Mr. Shipman's class. Mr. Shipman's class, Mr. Shipman's class. Mr. Shipman's class, Mr. Shipman's class.